Hello, everyone. My name is Carranza, and I am the founder of Transformation Through Reunification. And I was a victim of CPS. My daughter was illegally seized from me by an overzealous caseworker. And I decided that if I was going to be in this world, I was going to help other parents. I specialize in supervised visitations inside the DCFS office. I am a court-approved expert witness in reunification. I'm an expert in CFT meetings. And, oh man, I have 3 books coming out. Cynthia and I are working on some other things ourselves. And having said that, this is Cynthia.
Hi.
Cynthia is a co-founder. Co-founder of our company, right?
Yes, and I too am a victim of CPS with my 2 children who were also, what are we using? Seized?
Illegally seized.
Seized, yep. And it was horrible. After 2 years of fighting, I did get my kids back, but we still deal with the trauma and just the horrific nightmare of all of it.
I don't think that trauma will ever go away. I think I tell my clients and parents that it's always going to be there. You just have to learn how to manage it because it's never going. There's nothing more horrific than having your child ripped from you.
Right.
And they're starting finally to do studies on the trauma that is caused to the parent and not just the child. So I'm going to drop a couple of links in the chat for us tonight. And one of them is a study from the University of Michigan that says that it's sometimes it's better to leave the kids even in an abusive home because of the lifelong trauma that is inflicted on them.
Did you see my interview on Tuesday by any chance?
I did not.
It's okay. I interviewed Connie Reguli, who's an attorney in Tennessee, and she was did you hear? She was disbarred. And then I also had interviewed a previous CPS investigator. Who?
Why don't you talk about the attorney that was disbarred?
Sure. But the gentleman that I had interviewed, his name is Jordan. Now he is getting his doctorate in studying, I believe it's communications, but also he's studying and doing like this whole thing on the trauma that happens when CPS interferes with children and the parents, and how when they take them away, all the effects it has on both parents and children.
Well, you and I both know firsthand what effects it has on us.
Right.
I had stress-induced Crohn's disease, PTSD, major depressive disorder, anxiety disorder, broken heart syndrome, just from the removal of my daughter.
Right.
That's it. And that's just in a very short, I think it was like 3 months when all these symptoms started showing and I was hospitalized. You were hospitalized.
Yes. Yes. And then what about the after effects of even when
they don't teach you that. They don't prepare you for when your children do come home. They just take your kid literally and then make you jump through all these hoops, and then they give you your child back, but there's no aftercare services. So you don't know how to reintegrate life together.
Well, I wouldn't even say that, because I did have a program assist us. It was called Wraparound. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh, they gave you wraparound services?
I did get Wraparound.
Oh, that's good, because I haven't had a single client that has been given. It's either we're taking your kid or, you quote unquote beat us, so get out.
So first of all, I want to say one of my biggest frustrations, and you can understand this working with clients and stuff, is when CPS comes into your life, they snatch your child up like that. But then when it's time to give them back, everything is done slowly. So they have to slowly do unsupervised visits, and then for the day, and then overnights, and then weekends, because they don't want to cause trauma to the children by help me out with my words.
Giving your child back to you too quickly.
Right.
It's like they're afraid it's going to be more traumatic than
Yes.
ripping them from you and putting them in foster care. So they're going to slowly integrate your child back with you. It's like, that's my baby. I carried that baby in my freaking body. You don't need to slowly do anything.
Exactly.
It's crazy to me.
So wraparound. The reason I got wraparound offered to me was because I had the judge said it was a very complex and very like red tape file. And so just so people know what wraparound is, it is when a group of therapists, very intense, come into your home every day for a period of time. Mine was for 6 months. So there was a total of, I think, 6 therapists. So there's individual therapy for each child. There is behavioral therapy for each child. There's family therapy. There's a coping mechanism therapist who helps them work on coping.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the ridiculousness that they think going to help, when in actuality, I'm sure it was more traumatizing having these therapy sessions, because therapy is intense, regardless, and every 6 months, holy
6 months.
mackerel.
And it's every day.
It's so invasive.
It is. And honestly, like, I would admit that it was more helpful than harmful. It was, like you said, invasive and very intense, but it was also very helpful. But the funny part is, it wouldn't have been necessary had they not ripped my kids away and had they just investigated the allegations that were made against me. But I have to say that I was grateful that they, offer these services, because the things that helped my kids the most was learning their coping skills, and also teaching me, like, a lot of things that parents do differently is they'll overcompensate. So when their kids come home, they spoil the heck out of them.
Right.
Because they didn't have them for however long. The other thing that was really difficult was I had to learn. So my children were traumatized in the sense of any moment I would leave, I couldn't even go to the bathroom by myself. I still can't even do that. Okay. And my kids are
separation anxiety.
Yeah. And so with the separation anxiety, wraparound team taught me I have to leave. My kids need to see me leave and come back, and that it's okay.
Right. But can you blame them?
No, not at all.
No. And then when something goes wrong, or like, I have a client who's having supervised visits, and the child freaks out when it's time to leave. So the county is now saying, oh, well, it's because, she doesn't want to go back to her dad. No, she's freaking out because you're about to take her away. She knows it's coming. And for some reason, they like to paint the parent as the bad one, that this is their fault. If they were a better parent, the kid would have an easier time saying goodbye. They wouldn't be having meltdowns. They wouldn't be having accidents in the foster home. Are you serious?
None of that even makes sense.
No, it doesn't, but they keep saying it. Well, visitation with mom is disruptive because the child is having wetting the bed at night.
That doesn't happen because of your parenting. That happens because of the trauma that the child has gone through. So, and I can say this out of experience and not dealing with CPS. So my stepdaughter, I raised her since she was 3. And from the trauma and everything being such a change in her life, she went to bed until she was, I believe it was 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So did my ex-husband.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, trauma is insane. The after effects of trauma are crazy. So before a child is removed to foster care, the agency must like demonstrate that it's made a reasonable effort to prevent removal, or that the case fits into an exception, right? And it's an important requirement to protect the parents and the child's constitutional rights, but not only their rights, but they're also their mental health. Because removing a child is so damaging and so traumatic, they have to demonstrate that they've made a reasonable effort. Now, nobody demonstrated shit in my
I was
case.
going to say, I actually don't know. For all the years that I've been doing this, and for those of you that don't know, I host the reality series CPS The Horror Stories, and I also work with clients on a daily basis of people who have CPS in their lives. And I don't think I've ever met one person where CPS attempted to help them in their situation, where there were services offered from the beginning. And I don't mean stupid parenting classes. I mean things like actual services, for whatever it is that the allegations are, and their struggles in their lives, that CPS comes alongside them and walks that rough course. Instead, they, again, as we know, they just rip the kids away.
Right. So if you have, say you have housing issues. Now that's not a reason for removal, but they love to use it. Say you have housing issues. So they're supposed to help you find suitable housing before they remove the kid, before you get into, dependency court. And they cover their butt by having the parents sign a safety plan, because they can go and say,
That
oh,
you
look, here's the safety.
agreeing to.
Yeah. So I didn't know better. So I signed it because I'm going to do whatever I need to do. If someone put a safety plan in my face right now, I would laugh, tell them to shove it up their ass. You don't have to sign the safety plan.
No.
You don't have to do anything until a judge orders you to do it.
Right.
The CPS has way overstepped their boundaries, and people are terrified because they have our children in their clutches. So any good parent would do whatever they needed to do, make sure that their child stayed safe.
Erin,
So,
sorry, I was going to ask you while we're on this topic, what about sorry, this bothers me a lot. What about the parents that have gone somewhere for help? They realize, hey, I have an emotional problem or a mental problem or whatever, or my child has a problem and I'm struggling with them. Where can I get help? And then that therapist or doctor or hospital, whatever, now uses that against you and chooses to call CPS.
Right. So the thing that drives me the craziest is one of that is that because you're told for some reason that if you need help with your child, if you're a single parent, you're struggling, your child might have behavioral issues. If you go to the county, they provide you services to help you maintain, to help you be a better parent. That's a fucking lie. Excuse my language. Don't ever do that. I had a mom who was having a hard time with her daughter. She was bipolar. They were trying to get her to take her medicine. She went to the county because she was told, oh, they have services that can help you. They can find her best specialist. You know, the whole thing. They ended up putting the child on a 5150 for I want to say it was 42 days. And the mom didn't see him. I actually called Mr. Davis to get this kid, to see if he could get this kid out of this mental institution.
And tell me again, hold on, because you cut out. Tell me again, the mom took him to get help? Oh, for the bipolar meds, right? Is that what you were saying?
Right. Because the medicine wasn't working correctly, or the dosage was wrong and she was confused. So she thought she was doing the right thing by her child. I'm going to go to the county. They can have resources for me, and I will be able to, get through this as a family. And once that happened, they took the daughter and plopped her in a mental institution. I don't know what became of her case, because once I handed it off to Vince, that was it. I'm out of it. All I knew was it took a lawyer, or needed a lawyer, to get this kid out of a mental institution at like 8 or 9 years old. And I was scandalized because she went there for help. She wasn't a bad mom. She didn't have any prior cases. She was just a single mom that was having a hard time with a behaviorally challenged child. And she was crucified for it. And so was her child. And then I had another family.
I can't even imagine that child, being in that child's shoes, because, you know, the unbelievable
They
part.
put her in a straitjacket.
Well, that's the thing, is how is that child ever going to trust anybody again?
Nope. I mean, I even had a case where the child died. The child died in the hospital, and they didn't call the parents for 4 days. For 4 days, they didn't know that their child had died. And not only that, they went against their religion and did an autopsy and donated all the baby's organs, and his parents had no idea. And it's like, you know, it's bad enough you take our children when we come needing help. Like, genuinely, I need your help. I have nowhere else to turn. Don't ever turn to them, ever. I mean, call me first. You know.
Well, didn't I tell you what happened to us recently?
Mm-mm.
My daughter has been in therapy since our CPS case, and she was always seeing a
Wait a
man.
minute. Hold on. I want to address the comment real quick. So it says, I am worried that once this is done, everyone will still know our case. We're taking our kids to counselors and switching the schools. They all know about your case. Okay, so you're not supposed to have your kid in the same therapist, in the same office with the same therapist as they were in DCFS. You should cut all kinds of ties. I don't care if your kid.
Are you talking to me?
No, I'm talking to the comment.
Okay.
What is it? To Shondell. So you're not supposed to continue those services with the same therapist.
How do you know that she is?
I'm just saying, in general, you
okay,
shouldn't, because she said that she's afraid that everyone's going to know about the case. And that's not your shame. Don't carry that. They want you to be quiet, and they want you to feel shame and not talk about it. And you shouldn't feel shame. I stress that all the time. Do not carry shame. Ask for help.
Well, I can understand, though. I can understand why she feels this way. For the reason being, I was very well known in my community, in our church. I had the church that I went to had thousands of people. I mean, and actually, I don't know if you've ever heard of Harvest Crusades, where they go all over the place. I used to babysit for these pastors. They knew me. I went to the school. I went to the church since, I was born. And when this happened, nobody trusted who I was anymore.
Oh, no, my parents were like that too. And I had to shake them and
but
be like, look, this is
I wasn't just against my parents. This whole church, completely.
Well, my dad started Calvary Chapel, so I understand that whole church mentality where they look down on you and they're whispering, and it's like they're the people that are supposed to wrap you up in love and support you.
Well, and that's what I said. This is what I told so many people. Let's just pretend that the allegations were true. Let's just pretend. As a Jesus Christ follower, you are to be there to help me, not exile me.
No, you don't scold a drowning man before you throw him a life preserver.
Right.
Get them out of the water first, and then you sit down and have a conversation. I tell that to families all the time. Don't judge, because you don't know. Most of this is not true. Give them a hug.
Right.
Tell them you're there. If you can't help financially, you can be a shoulder to lean on.
Right.
This is the hardest thing that I've ever gone through.
Yeah.
Ever.
And I do want to clarify that this did not rock my faith, as you know. You know, I still have a relationship with God. But it definitely like really shook my belief in humans. Like it just blew me away. And even my family to this day, yes, I don't talk to my parents because they were the ones who actually took my children. But
I still can't get over that. Your mom, I still can't get over that.
I know. But my aunts and uncles, nobody wants to be in the middle. And it's like, but you're choosing an actual side instead of just like, I'm not asking
Reading the case plan.
Right. How about when my kids were returned? Why do you think they got returned? And why do you think my mom can no longer have a child in foster care in her home? Like, come on, people.
I'm still tripping about that video, man. Them bouncing on the seats. I'm going on the freeway with seatbelts. Holy moly. So it was the opposite for me. I was like, oh yeah, you're going to try to shame me into being quiet? No, you're not. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on a show and I'm going to do an interview with a lady named Cynthia. And then I'm going to go and continue to shout my story.
Yeah.
So people know that they are not the savior of children.
Right.
They have this guardian complex and everyone thinks, oh, I mean, because I did. If CPS is involved, you're a bad parent. No,
right.
That is so not true. And I would not have known that unless my daughter was illegally seized.
Right. Do you know, I went to lunch. I think I told you about this. I went to lunch with a police officer. He had been my friend since I was 19 years old. And and he took me out to lunch after church one day. And I was at a different church this time. And he like grabbed my hands and he looked at me and he goes, you know, you can tell me anything, right? I was like, yeah, for sure. And he said, you know, so we all mess up as parents. We all struggle. But you can tell me what you did and I'll help you get your kids back. And I was like, excuse me? And he goes, well, as an officer, like CPS does not just take kids for no reason. There has to be a reason.
Oh, see, the cops that I know, all my buddies now, they cannot stand DCFS. They can't stand them. They don't want to deal with them. They know that they're coming in snatching babies. He must have been very sheltered.
Yes, and he was new, but it just
but it's the way everyone thinks.
That's the mentality. And I had just got off my show and had interviewed two gentlemen, fathers, and one of them who has lived like a high lifestyle, you know. I don't want to say like had a bunch of money or anything like that, but just had a good life.
Well off.
Yeah. And and has history in the military and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And his kids were removed all off of false allegations. I can actually talk to you or share it with you. He has a nonprofit called Here's for Heroes. He had problems after he was in the military because of something that happened. And there was like family drama when he married his wife from her past. And CPS came in tenfold and like totally attacked. And he kept saying through the whole interview, he goes, I just couldn't believe it. Like this, it still shocks me. I just never thought that CPS would be an entity that actually is doing wrong and harm.
If I wasn't living it and I told my story to somebody, I wouldn't believe it because it is so asinine.
And that's where I give that officer grace, because if you
But
don't,
as he should know you, though. That's the thing. It's like you need to separate what you think you know about the county, and remember, I'm your child or your niece or
right.
right.
Yeah, your friend. And
Mhm.
I just, you're right. And that's the thing that kept shocking me was, you know me. Like, for the pastors, like, you had me in your home babysitting your children since I was 11 years old.
Mhm.
And now
As soon
your
as they come in,
children
ooh.
are having babies. But yeah, CPS comes and then
I always tell parents, if you open the door, buckle up, buttercup. As soon as that door opens,
you're done.
game over. You're in their world, and we will teach you how to play their game, but that's what it is. Unless you have an attorney that can find some technicality, most people don't know at your very first hearing, your attorney can object.
Yep.
Your attorney can get your kids back, but everyone is stuck in the hamster wheel. And, I wish we could get Vince on here for a minute, because he tells the story about how when he left the public defender's office, because he had so many cases that he almost cost some mom her children. And I was so moved by that, because we don't see what other cases these public defenders have. 70 cases, 80 cases, 130 cases, like a week or a month or whatever a case may be. So we just think that this person is doing a shit job, doesn't care about us, just a number. And then when I hear stories like Mr. Davis's story, or my own story, when I ended up connecting properly with my public defender and the tide changed, it was amazing. And like judges, they only can rule on what's in front of them. They don't know what's going on in your case. Unless you put forth something, they can't rule just on nothing. And most people don't know that, but CPS will put everything negative, all the hearsay, all bad stuff, all the accusations, the false accusations. You can object to that stuff in the first hearing. I didn't know that.
Right.
Maybe I wouldn't have gone through what I did. They didn't like that I recorded everything. I have my interview recorded. I have Lola's interview recorded. I have phone calls recorded. I think I'm going to play one of my phone calls one of these days with us for the very first time, me trying to find out where my child was.
Play it. Do you have it?
I think we'll keep, I'll look for it.
Okay.
And I was telling the lady there's 250 mistakes in my report. They didn't even spell my name right or my child's name
Oh,
right.
there were times where on my
Other people's
paperwork,
names.
other people's names, other
Yep.
children's names, locations, address. I'm like, but it also had my information. It was like they completely
Copy and paste.
mixed two files together.
Yep.
And then the judge goes off of that. There isn't even reasoning. One thing I want to say really fast before we keep going is, as soon as CPS gets in your life, like as soon as that knock on the door, call an attorney. Because like you said, people think that they can go to the first hearing by themselves. Oh, I can just tell the truth. The truth will reveal. I have proof.
No.
Don't think for 1 second that the judge is even going to allow you the opportunity to talk. Don't think for 1 second that your court-appointed attorney is there to help you. Just don't think. Call an attorney now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't open the door. Don't open your mouth, and get an attorney. And if you can't afford one, make sure that you are really communicative with your public defender. And I can teach you how to do that to change the tide.
And how do you do
I've
that?
done it a couple times.
But hold on. How do you do that? Let me ask you why. Because I, as you know, big mouth right here, literally was in constant, on my end, communication. I mean, I was messaging, texting, calling the attorney like 24/7, even over their head to the supervisor, the office, anybody that would listen to me. That person never called me back, was never prepared, and never even showed up to my courtroom a minute early.
So I called my attorney a petty bitch. I told all of them to go fuck off. Nobody called me, right, when I was trying to figure out where my kid was. So the first day I called every hour on the hour. I need to speak to my caseworker. And on the next day, it was every 30 minutes. And then on the end of that day, I said, if somebody doesn't call me tomorrow morning, I am calling you every 15 minutes. And what happened? The next day, someone called me at 8 a.m. But I called from block numbers. I called from friends' phone numbers. I literally called them every freaking hour and then every 30 minutes. And I was prepared to do every 15 minutes. You took away my kid, my life, my whole reason for being. I have nothing right now. So I need to see my kid. I need to know where she's at. So you're
Yes.
going to call me back. So literally every hour on the hour, I called from all different numbers. I didn't call the caseworker's line. I called office. So they had to answer the phone
Just so you know, I'm
every single time.
looking up things from my case as well to show.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing too. I'm looking for the recordings. But so that's what I did. But then when something happened in my case where the babysitter was driving around my daughter high to my visits, my supervised monitor saw smoke come out of the car, smelt it and everything. We took Lola out and made Mario come and get her. Nothing happened to Mario. Nothing happened to the babysitter, but my daughter was being driven around. And I texted my attorney. I said, how do I get rid of you? She's like, because I can't help you. You have to call the 1-800 number or something. And I was like, excuse me. This woman is driving around with a 3-foot bong buckled in the back seat next to my kid, smoking pot. And she was an hour and a half late to pick her up for my visit. Can you imagine what would happen if we were an hour and a half late to anything, or even 5 minutes late? Anyways, I digress. So I took that, and once I realized I got her attention, I said, okay, so now I instruct my clients to write an email. Not if you don't get emotional, leave that out. If you want to be emotional, you can send me an emotional email. But what you want to do is get the facts of your case in their mind. Bullet point, no more than 2 sentences per bullet point. Happened, the date. Happened, the date. Just the facts, and the most egregious ones up front.
But how do you know that they're even going to read it? That's what happened, because I was very
Well, then if they don't, then you ask for a Marsden here and get a new one. But I mean, some of the best attorneys I've ever met are public defenders. Now, some of the worst are private. I've met some really horrible private attorneys that people throw money into, and they think they're going to walk in there and it's like the magic key. As long as you're a private attorney, you're going to get my kids back. That's not the case. But some of the best attorneys I've ever met were public defenders, and some pretty shitty ones too. But at the same time, you have to remember that they have all of these cases. They're overworked just like a regular human being. And that's why I say get it in front of your attorney, send it once a week, and add to it as things go along. Before a hearing, give them a synopsis. That way they can present to you and not go through all of the heartbreak that we have to go through. And that's really hard for a lot of people, is not to write the emotional stuff. Well, the judge doesn't have time to look at that stuff. So you want to get the actual facts, the actual egregious things that have been done in front of the judge as fast as possible, as simple as possible, so you can get moving. You don't want to get caught up in the sludge of dependency court.
No. That's me and my daughter at one of our visits. I want to show you the room that we
I have decorated and cleaned the room every single time.
Yes.
It was disgusting, the offices. And they had little boys living in the one across the way. For 2 weeks, they had 4 boys living in the office room. I think if you look down at the bottom of our chat, there should be a place like a little computer screen with a plus sign where you can add pictures and documents. Or is it just on my end?
How do I even do that though?
You just click on it and then it'll
I have like a present, but always on my phone.
You should be it's all on your phone there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I'll get one up here for us. But So it's hard to separate fact from the pain that we are carrying around, and we really have to do that because it won't get us anywhere.
Andrea says it's just on yours.
Oh, I thought you saw it too. Okay, well then text it to me and I'll share it here.
Yeah, I have the plus button, and it says I can share slides, video file, or share my screen. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, try that.
Well, but it's only on my phone, my stuff.
Oh, it's not on where you're looking at me yet? Or you can text it to me and I'll share it on this end.
Like this, see?
We can't. Okay, so we good?
It's just on my, like, in my old
okay.
photo file thing. And I was looking for some specific stuff that I wanted to share with you.
If you can somehow email it or whatever to me, then I can share it on this end.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, we're getting another 6 inches, another 6 feet of snow, 5 to 6 feet of snow by the weekend. Ooh.
Did you happen to look over the info that I sent you on Facebook Messenger on the gentleman in Australia?
I did. And I want to kick that off by saying that you can complain about the foster home or the group home in California. You report to the community care licensing board. They're basically pretty much the only people that will do anything. And they're the people that fund the foster home and the group home. I have put in the chat, I put a link to file your complaint there. And then if you need to complain about a judge, not because you don't like his ruling, but because he has literally violated your constitutional rights, or he's biased, or he has some kind of investment in, not giving your child, you want to go to the Board of Judicial Performance, and you can file a complaint. You need to do it 2 ways. You need to do it online and you need to mail it in. So I've done that.
And this is if you were a foster child.
No, this is if this foster children, yes, the community care licensing board. If there's abuse happening in the group home that your child's in, or the foster parents are being abusive and county's not doing anything, you can go to the community care licensing board and they will pull their license and do an investigation. And then for judges, family court,
but do they do that? Like, what proof and stuff do you have to have?
Well, they'll do an investigation.
It seems to be more difficult to get an investigation on a foster parent than it is a regular parent.
Right, but that is when you're just complaining to the county. Now, if you go to Health and Human Services in Washington, D.C. and complain there, don't complain in your local branch. Okay. Complain there. And then, like, if you're in California like we are, you need to go to the licensing board because they don't mess around, because that's where they give all the money out, and they're not going to give money out to somewhere that's kids being abused so they can get sued. Right. So everyone's like, oh, I've complained. Yeah, you complained to the county. And that's like the left hand giving the right hand a smack. It's not going to do nothing. You have to look for ways to complain outside of the buddy system. And thankfully, the judicial board now is not made up of judges anymore, because nothing was happening. Now the Committee on Judicial Discipline is made up of lawyers and regular people, regular professionals, people that have an idea about the law. There's judges on there still, but it used to be strictly judges. And what judge is going to punish another judge?
Right.
Even when it's egregious, So I know that happens because I have filed a complaint and I have an investigation going. And I didn't think I was going to be able to. I thought, oh yeah, well, I'm just going to do it. Just do it, because one letter is one thing, but 100 200,000 letters is another thing. 200,000 letters. If everyone's complaining to the Department of Health and Human Services, to the licensing board, to the bar, to the local bar association, you know, we're not, everyone's like, oh, we need to protest. Well, yes, we do. We need to change legislation, but there is nothing more powerful than a letter writing campaign. Literally sending in complaints. One, it's absolutely annoying when you get 500 of the same letters, right? But also, you write those complaints, you file those complaints, then you have that to take with you when you go to sue for your federal case. If there has been, you know, a violation in your constitutional rights, in your Fourth Amendment, in your 14th Amendment, your child's Fourth Amendment. But so you want to do that, regardless if you think it's going to work or not.
Right.
What's the harm? What's the harm? Honestly, no harm. But the benefit outweighs the risk of harm. Because one, maybe you do get somebody that's like, oh, let's look into this caseworker. This doesn't sound right. And then two, you have evidence for your trial once you leave dependency court. And I do not suggest that you try to sue the county while they have your children. You wait until you get your kids out of custody, and then you go back and give them a spanking, because they will retaliate. They will cut your visits. I got retaliated because of my job. They took all the chairs and tables out of the room one day. And I was like, cool, thanks. Now me and Lola have more room for fun and cartwheels and dance parties.
Yep.
So they try all that underhanded, petty stuff. But when it comes to your children, they have them. So I suggest you do their service and smile. Get more flies with honey than vinegar. But you document. And I think that goes into what you were talking about on the Facebook. I think that where did it go? I have too many tabs open. I'm too old. I need like 3 computer screens, not just little.
Yeah.
Because didn't your guy talk about the accommodations in juvenile dependency court and documenting everything and unlicensed caretakers? And those are the people you can report to the community care board too. When fraud, bribery, blackmail are unavailable or unviable approaches due to moral purity and independence, DCP turn to their golden weapon, the unlicensed caretaker. You know, in my head, I just heard dun, 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 because it's true.
I'm looking through pictures because I'm trying to like find some specific ones.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize I had kept all of these messages between my mom and I, and they're like, I look back and I'm like, not only was she such a narcissist, but it's devastating how my mom spoke to me.
Mm-hmm. So that's another show that we're going to do. I want people to send me the text messages and emails from their caseworkers in your closed case that are vile and hurtful.
Yes.
And I'm going to read them out loud for you. I got told I wasn't a mother anymore. How dare you? So you guys, hey, Courtney, she's one of my clients and I love her, and she's got one hell of a story, and I'm trying to get her to come on my show. But now I just got lost because I was in her case. I can't believe what's happening. Every time I think, okay, this is the worst it gets, it never is. It always gets worse.
Right.
But so I want all of your text messages and your emails that with them threatening you and saying they're going to take your kids, or you're not going to see your kids, or calling you names. Send those to us, and I will read them out loud. Maybe we can maybe we can tarnish their halo here a little bit, because people get called bitches and, you know, losers and trash. So send them to us and we'll read them to you.
Yeah, we can start with ours.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to read through my dependency court file
What
here and
about,
there.
Aaron, what are your thoughts? I know we kind of touched on this a little bit. What are your thoughts when your case is open? You still have like rights to your children, and you should be able to go to any doctor appointment and all of that, right?
Yeah. They don't let you.
No. And what about when there's something damaging that happened to your child and they don't tell you? For example,
I know.
I had to get a ride with my children this day to my visit because I didn't have a car or anything. And luckily my mom picked me up. In that vehicle, my daughter informed me, and this was, by the way, the one and last time that I ever got a ride with my mom, because of course she wouldn't let me. But my daughter informed me that she had been in the hospital. She had gotten stung by a bee, which then let them know that she was highly allergic. Her whole face swelled up, and she almost like died.
Yeah, they don't tell you. My daughter was in with COVID. Nobody told me.
Right. So what can they or we or, anybody do about this?
Document. Be cool, calm, and collected. I know it sounds so like, oh, fuck, Aaron. I don't want to write down any more shit.
It isn't even that, because I documented the whole time. And remember, my case is closed, and this is still frustrating for me.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm finding my case is closed, and I'm finding out stuff that I was like, excuse me, you did a forensic medical exam on my child for what? I just found this out. You can get all this from your 262 note or your delivered service logs. They have to be subpoenaed, but so you have to document everything because so much happens in such a little space of time, right? That you forget. I forget. I go through my paperwork and I see these horrible things that are said, and it breaks my heart. But when you document stuff, you can separate it into therapy, medical, educational, and then once you've break it down that way, did the doctor violate your therapist violate your HIPAA? Were you being withheld stuff that you can take to court for an order to show cause, a contempt? Because we can hold them in contempt. They are not above the law. So it's just a matter of breaking down.
That's my baby.
Ooh.
That's him on a video chat with me, because this is just how my kids constantly were. Yeah. Constantly crying.
I saw the
and then
crying in my daughter.
Do you know what happened after that phone call?
Mm-mm.
Take a guess.
Was it the crazy car ride?
No. What do you think happened to my phone calls after that phone call?
Oh, I'm sure that you didn't get them anymore.
I didn't. They got canceled.
I never was given more than my once a week, 2 hours. I never got unsupervised. I never ever got overnights. They kept lying and saying, "Oh, the therapist said this." I'm like, "No, the court order says this." So I got punished the entire time because I fought back. But I also knew that my daughter was with my husband and she wasn't in foster care. And so I think that curtailed my behavior a little bit. I wasn't as conservative as I would have been. Actually, I take that back. If my kid was in foster care, I would have fucking stole her and ran away. Sorry.
No, don't be. But do you did your ex-husband, or does he take care of her and love her like that you know she's being loved?
I thought that he did. I thought he did. And so I've tried to find comfort in that. But a parent who actively calls and does this and keeps your child from the mother when you know nothing's wrong, you just want to control the financials, is not a good parent.
Right.
Now, if I had something wrong with me and I was seriously mentally ill or whatever, that would be different. But he knows good and goddamn well that it's all a lie. I mean, he's still trying to perpetuate this because he's about to lose control over custody and alimony. And in fact, he stalks my social media and he tries to get me in trouble for it. But, you know, our case is closed. I don't use the real name. And if you don't want shit said about you, don't be doing bullshit. Don't be making up lies. Don't be trying to play some games. Don't be flirting. Don't be sending me bad text messages between you and the caseworker. Don't be doing that. If you don't want your business out there, then you shouldn't have fucking called the county.
Right.
As I'm not ashamed. My 7:30 evaluation said Aaron is none of these things, and it's all based on father's report.
Right.
They did no investigation. Literally, it says it in black and white. Aaron is none of these things. I see none of these behaviors. Everything is based on what dad says. And wouldn't you know it, they lost that report until I called the doctor myself. You know, everybody was saying.
I sent you a video that somebody had. It was a character witness video.
They didn't even let Vince in my case. They wouldn't let him come in.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on those that where they don't let the change of attorney request?
I think that's bullshit games. They're trying to beat the clock, man, because you have a certain amount of time before they have to give you your kid back or they have to adopt out. So all it is to waste your time, to confuse you, to throw you off your game, to get you to forget about services. That's all it is. It's all distraction. It's all just noise, and noise can't hurt you. Don't listen to their fucking noise. Do your case plan. Don't listen. Don't worry about it. I tell all people all the time, that's just what they're going to do. They're going to try to make you look crazy. They're going to try to get you pumped up. They're going to try to get you aggressive before court or before your visit so they can say, hey, she's crazy. She's violent. They said that about me, but what they didn't know is that I had a private detective recording my comings and goings from the CPS office every single time. So when they said I was aggressive and crazy, I said, tell me what day. Oh, it's a lot of days. No. Tell me what day. Why? Because I have a private investigator. His name is Art Bustamante. He's fabulous. He's coming on the show. He's been on my show before.
I want to be on there when he comes. I just want to hear what he has to say.
He just had surgery on his esophagus. So hi, Art. But anyways, so literally every single visit, he would record me going in and coming out.
Yeah, you were telling
me. I knew that my husband at the time was going to say something like that because couldn't get me a bad behavior inside the office because my visits were stellar. So they were going to try to get me outside the office. And they tried and it backfired. And that's another reason I didn't get more time was because I was 2 steps ahead of them most of the time. Because I didn't get sidetracked with the noise.
Right. And one thing that Vince taught me, and I think that you and I have talked about this before, is don't get stuck in the past. Don't sit there and try to do the whole, but they did this to me and this was wrong and I'm focused on this. You can't.
Get out of here. Don't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry to say it. And Vince told it to me and I thought I was going to smack him. But he was like, Aaron, your daughter was removed. Get over it. And I was like, excuse me? Like I started to get like.
Right.
But he was right. Because by the time I met with him and he told me that, 3 months had already gone by and I didn't even know I was supposed to be doing services. And if he didn't tell me that when he did, I would not have finished my case plan.
Right.
Because they don't set it up for you. And I was so destroyed by the removal. It's all I could see. And that's what they want. They want you so distracted, so looking over here. So when they're over here, they're taking away your baby. And you're still stuck on the removal that happened 12 months ago. And I'm not saying that it's not traumatic and you're not going to be on it. Because I still think about it and I get teary-eyed. I can't hear a baby crying or saying mama. It still gets me. I don't know. Sometimes I I remember I didn't know what size shoes my daughter wore. And then I get like, oh, you're the bad one. Well, you're not telling me anything. She's having doctor's appointments. She's having surgeries. She's having all of this. And I'm out of dependent support. And I left with my parental rights intact. Now I'm in family court, which is a whole nother monster. And actually, I wrote a chapter in my book. It's called out of the pan, or out of the fire and into the pan, because it's like the Wild West. But today it's snowing, and there's like 6 feet of snow, and I thought to myself, I would give anything to do one snow angel with my baby, just one, because I've missed so much. And I'm not even in dependent court anymore. I mean, my ex-husband is the one that's keeping my child from me. And I told myself, oh, he's just doing this because he doesn't want her to go into the system. Once we're out of this court, he'll drop this charade and we'll just go back to doing what's right for our daughter. It was a hard thing to face when I realized that it was not just the county, that it was my husband that was doing this. It's like, you want a divorce, then take it. You don't have to destroy me on the way out.
What's crazy, you brought up you didn't know her shoe size.
Mm-hmm. My parents were like, what does baby want for Christmas? I don't know.
Right.
I don't
you
know.
don't know what they are into or anything.
And they look at you like, what? How do you not know?
Do you know when it hit me? Was when I was at my girlfriend's house and I had gotten my kids back. And my daughter was 8 at the time. And her daughter was 6. And she was like bouncing around and doing these things. And I was just staring at her. And I started to get emotional. I looked at my friend and she was like, typical 6-year-old. And I was like, I wouldn't know.
No.
Because I didn't have my daughter when she was 6 or 7.
Or you see kids running around getting crazy and parents are like, oh my God, I just need a break or whatever. I'm not having to go to parents. But I don't know how many times I thought, fuck, I wish I could sit and do homework. I wish I could, chase after my kid up the stairs and knock it off and pick up your shoes. And, did you do your homework, or did you do this? Or why do you have why did you get a letter sent home from school? Like, I remember just being desperate for any kind of anything, any kind of information, anything. And you're never given it, and you have to deal with it.
Well, do you know what else is frustrating though? Having my kids back and when talking to parents, and be honest, I actually want you to be really honest, because I lived this and I remember saying I would do anything to get my kids back. And now that I have my kids back and we go through these struggles, am I allowed to now, in a sense, complain about our struggles where I'm like, I want to pull my hair out? Or
yes, your parent. Yes. I
feel like people get mad at me and they're like, well, aren't you grateful that at least you have your kids back? Fuck yes.
But I can still scold them and punish them. I'm still their mama.
Right.
I say it all the time. It's very crude. It's my favorite saying. I would have given the devil a blowjob to get my kid back. I don't care what I had to do. I'd suck the devil's dick to get my kid back. I do not care. Right? That does not mean that because I have her back that I'm not allowed to be stressed out. I'm not allowed to set down ground rules. No, she needs to come home and there needs to be stability. And I'm a parent and I'm a human and they're my kids. And they test us because they're children. And studies have proven that kids act out worse with the parent that they trust and feel more secure in.
Yep. And not only that, but that was the other thing I learned in wraparound when I got my kids back. They said, you need to go back to living your life as it was before, as fast as you can. These kids need to know where the boundaries are. They need to know a routine and a schedule and just normalcy. You cannot go to this hovering and helicopter and spoiling, because it will mess them up worse.
More kids thrive when there is a schedule, when
Discipline.
there
And
is
discipline. Consequences.
yes, because people get a lot. Parents get a lot of slack, whether your kids are removed or not. People will look at you and judge you for whatever reason. You give your kid meat, you give your kid vegetable. Like, how about we stay in our own lanes and just make our children the best that they can be, and then we can help our outside, our community, and stop tearing each other down as parents, and stop judging. It's hard enough already. You have no idea what's going on behind closed doors. You think this person has this perfect life and perfect kids. No, there's crazy abuse, say. And then you think, oh, here's the white trash family, and they're loving and the kids are thriving. And it's like, let's stop judging parents. And we're really judging ourselves, because that's all just projection. But it's like women. Well, I don't understand why women tear other women down. I will never, ever do that. I compliment women on the street and they look beautiful.
Yes.
This whole tearing everybody apart is doing nothing but making us more ugly and horrible and lonely. And we need to lift each other up. And if you're having a hard day because your kid is being baby's kids, acting a fool, you have every right to miss that, but then also not want to have to deal with that, because our children are there to test our limits, but we're also there to show them that there are boundaries. And anybody that says that to a parent who's just gotten their child back, and another thing, of course you're going to get overwhelmed. You have not had your children for over a year. You know how to interact and behave, and of course it's going to be uncomfortable. Of course everyone's going to be on eggshells for a while. Jesus Christ.
So you want to know one of my struggles after I got my kids back? And it's kind of funny. So I had a G and J tube at the time. I was being fed through my J tube formula. So I didn't need to eat. And it was so weird. That was the hardest routine to get in the hang of things, was feeding my kids like often. And
not making a little packed lunch and bringing it, like actually making a meal for your children who you don't know what they even want to eat anymore.
Well, yes, my kids definitely, their food thing changed enormously. But no, I'm saying for me, it was the fact that I forgot my kids needed to eat, because I didn't need to eat. I wasn't hungry. So that was funny. So somebody, what is her name? Certainly.
That's Courtney. It's Courtney.
Courtney. Okay, she said
she's my client. She's one of my clients.
Her case is closed. Me. So what's going on with your mom and babies? I'm late here. So just so you know, if you didn't pick up on it yet, my mother was the one who kidnapped my children with the help of CPS. Yeah. And then she said something else right here. Hold on, I wanted to read this.
Click it if you want.
It doesn't let me.
Boo.
Yeah. So she says, care plan is to manage my emotions. I love that, because isn't that so many of us, like, you have erratic behavior because you're crying. Like, how could you not cry when
I worry about the parent that doesn't cry. That's the parent I worry about.
Right.
Because if you're not crying and not emotional, you're either you don't care or you are dead inside. And I came very close. I came very close to being suicidal again once they took my daughter.
Yep.
What do I have to live for?
She asked why. I'm assuming you mean, why did my mom take my kids? My mom is mentally ill. She was even diagnosed with Munchausen's by proxy. She really thought that my children were her kids, and even convinced them for a period of time that they were. I don't know if I ever showed you this picture, Erin. Hold on. when people say, well, how could the kids even believe that? Well, number one, they were young. They were 4 and 6. But look at this.
Oh my God.
That is me. No. Okay. That is, where am I? Whoa. Not here. Okay. My mom and me. That is my daughter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, she's just reliving,
Yes.
having the toddler years through your children,
Right.
and went
And
as
then
far as to take them away by force.
made them call her mom. I remember, this is hilarious. I'm sorry, to me, because I was dumbfounded when this happened too. We went to court. So on Mother's Day, no, it wasn't on Mother's Day because Mother's Day is on a Sunday. So, but I had a visit prior to Mother's Day, and I had brought canvases, right, and paint and everything. I think it's in the closet. Anyways,
Yep. Courtney, you're right. Don't cry in front of your kids. Don't show emotion in front of the caseworker. Be stoic and happy, and let your children. They look to us to see how to behave and to react. And if we're a mess falling apart, it's going to be even harder on them. And then the county is going to use it against you, saying you're detrimental to your children. But you were painting. That's what I did too.
And so, but I didn't just paint a thing for me for Mother's Day. I had them do one for my mom. But on there, they wrote Graham because that's what they were used to calling her prior to that. And it's quite funny because she then brought my mother.
I don't know what just popped up.
That's not from me.
That's from me, but I don't know what it is.
It says Judge Marshall. That was my judge.
That was my judge. Oh, these are my exit orders. Okay, then. Here we go.
But anyways,
keep going.
So my mom, and by the way, you know why. It's 6:41. We need to end this soon. Because you know what. Anyways, my mom brought the canvas to the courtroom and said, she is trying to make these kids call me Graham.
Bitch, because you are grandma.
Right.
Sorry.
And the judge was like, and?
That's a swear or something bad, aren't you? I mean, I'm sorry. Your case just sticks up under my rib. I can't believe your mother did it to you. I mean, I can't believe my husband did it to me. The people I can't believe it when neighbors do it to people. Like, you are destroying somebody and you have no qualms about it.
Right.
It's just heartbreaking, especially when it's a loved one.
Yes.
No, Courtney, you're not supposed to talk to the worker. Don't talk to them.
Don't do that. Big mistake. It doesn't matter how nice they are.
Oh, they will smile in your face and stab you in the back.
Okay,
I was lucky.
Oh. I have to go make dinner.
Okay.
But what were you going to say?
We get sidetracked. I was going to say I was lucky that I had a supervised monitor who was a very honest man and stood up for me. And my social worker was a slime ball. Yeah. I'm suing, but we'll get to that on another show. So we have to practice our outro because I guess that's the thing. But if you need any help with supervised visitation, CFT meetings, you can call us. We are actually getting ready to open up where we actually will have employees supervise your visits. We're going to start doing that. We're working on our center, our visitation center. So we can help you to the best of our abilities. You can email me, erincarranza247@gmail.com, or on Facebook. If you want to get a hold of Cynthia.
My phone number is 626-594-5526. And then my email is C as in Cynthia, M as in Mary, T as in Thomas, ERBERGX4@gmail.com. I don't know how to write it.
Put it in our private chat where it's set on down, and then I will copy and paste and put it into the main chat. So we can help you. And if we can't help you, we can send you to the right person, or we can point you in the right direction. I've helped clients in Ireland, South Africa, South America, England, Australia. So reunification is not always, you need a lawyer and it's only in one area. It's the same thing. No, it is universal. Parents want to get their children back, and I know that we can help you.
Yeah.
So if you want to get a hold of us, that's how to do it. I'm going to drop that in the chat right now. And we will be back on next week. If you guys could email us your nasty letters and text messages from your caseworkers, we will happily read them out loud on the air, or I will. Also, if you want to come on and tell your story, email us. We're doing that too. So full speed ahead.
And what about going through cases?
Yes, that as well.
If
your case is closed,
mm-hmm.
then we can go on and we'll go through your case. We'll read your dependency court stuff, all of that stuff. I'll share my stuff. I don't want this to be in the dark anymore. It needs to be brought to the light, because justice will not be served until the people that are unaffected are as outraged as the people who are affected.
Right.
So it's
and we could even have a guest attorney on here with us.
Yes, I have 3 or 4 that are always willing to come on. Private investigators. I have therapists.
Yep,
I do have a whistleblower coming on.
Who?
I have an active social worker in one of the counties in this state that's going to come on. They are very scared. I have them talking to Sean Mullen. I gave them his information, but they're going to come on. I have a dependency court judge we're going to interview at some point this year. So we have a lot of stuff happening. There's a lot of information coming. We're here to help you guys. And if you just need someone to listen to you, I'm all ears, because nobody listens to us in dependency court.
Yep.
So thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Email us, and there's only one of us, each of us, so we will get back to you. It might not be tomorrow or the next day, but we'll do our best to get back to you as soon as possible.
Sounds good. Thanks, Erin. Talk to you later.
Good night.
Bye.